An administrator in the Indianapolis Department of Metropolitan Development was fired this week for sexual harassment. It's the latest in a series of investigations in Mayor Hogsett's administration that started with his former chief of staff. Meantime, in the governor's race, fellow Democrat Jennifer McCormick was asked about all of this week as she unveiled her proposals on ethics.
It's overdue. This is long overdue for the state of Indiana. So we can point back at, the Curtis Hill issue. We can point to Hogsett. I mean, it's not a new issue per se in the state of Indiana, whether that's at the local level or the state level. And so for us, it's just a matter of putting, again, systems in place to help Hoosiers with that mechanism to feel safer.
Senator Braun also issued a statement on McCormick's ethics plan as well. All right, let's bring in our panel right now as we discuss everything happening in the world of politics this week. Here with us in studio, we have former state party chair for the Indiana Democrats, Robin Winston. With us, so is former state rep Mike Murphy for the Republicans, along with UIndy political science professor Dr. Laura Wilson and Politico's Adam Wren, author of the Important Phil newsletter on Indiana politics. Laura, I'll start with you. We've seen a number of Democrats speak their minds on this controversy, including their candidate for governor now. What do you make of her comments there?
Well, I think these are really solid comments. First of all, ethics are something everyone should be concerned about, right? And accountability. I think it's really nice as a nonpartisan issue because it's something that doesn't straddle party lines. It doesn't fall in one category or another. But this is also really important for us as a political culture. I know we've talked on the show about sometimes the violence or just the aggression, the polarization we see in our politics. And that turns people off. That's also not a great reflection of politics, our community, and our government as a whole. So I think we do need to hold people to high standards, and that's certainly what we see.
Adam, both Braun and McCormick are up on the air this week with some new ads, and in her ads, she's had a lot to say about being a former Republican, saying, quote, "My party changed." And indeed, Mike Braun's Republican Party and Braun himself has had to answer a lot of questions this week about his running mate, Micah Beckwith, and some of the controversial things that he's had to say this week, including about perhaps revisiting childhood vaccines.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, Mike Braun has been a very socially conservative senator, even when he was campaigning in 2018, talking about the issue of gay marriage. But we're starting to see him kind of moderate out and talk only about kitchen table issues. Micah Beckwith is not there yet, has posted questioning childhood vaccines, has said the government wants to take away guns. But I think in some ways Beckwith has come under heel to Braun and is trying to align as much as possible as he can in his capacity. Ultimately, Braun says that Gooden and Beckwith are not the ones on the top of the ticket, and so it'll be a question of who they vote for among the two of them.
As everybody kind of tries to play to the middle right now in the general, Mike, we met up with Senator Braun at the Indy Chamber event this week. They endorsed Braun, who comes from the business world, but not specifically here in Indianapolis, where you may sometimes see more moderate Republicans in some cases. What's Braun's message going to be here in the coming weeks, do you think? And what do you make of this dynamic with his running mate? That he didn't choose, the delegates
He didn't choose him?
Yeah.
And we had that same thing happen back in '96 when Goldsmith, threw the lieutenant governor choice to the convention, and we end up with a newspaper editor from Huntington, Indiana, nice guy, but didn't have much impact on the ticket. I think the message has to just continue to be consistent with what he's talking about, that he is a successful businessman. He can bring business principles to the state of Indiana, make the state government even more efficient, more successful. And he needs to stay away from some of the social issues like Mitch Daniels did, stay away from abortion, stay away from things that rile people up.
Robin, what's your response to that, and what does your party have to do to make this a competitive race this year?
Well, I remind your viewers that I lost my mentor in 2003, Frank O'Bannon. So the lieutenant governor is one heartbeat away from the governor's office. When people begin to modulate, that's a French word for change their position drastically on major issues. The bottom line is that Micah Beckwith sent a meme this week that showed people lined up along the border in a prone position, firing, saying, "This is my idea of border security." I don't know that that's what the candidates should be talking about. I don't care what Mike Braun says he's doing. Jennifer's laying out plans that are common sense plans each and every week. You know why? Because her plans resonate with people, and you don't have to stand behind a podium and say, I'm against a woman's right to choose. I'm for book bans, some of the things that have gotten those guys on their positions.
All right, we're going to have a debate between the candidates for governor coming up next month on October 2nd. Next week, it's the first debate between Vice President Harris and former President Trump. Adam, you've spent time in some of those key swing states like Michigan. I was up there on vacation last week as well. A lot of campaign signs out there already. What are you hearing from people on the ground in some of those key battleground states ahead of this debate next week?
Well, this is going to be the closest election in possibly 60 years that we're going to see, and so it's going to be a game of inches. And in Michigan in particular, where I've spent time reporting, Trump supporters don't see it that way. They think Trump is running away with the election. They say that any way that Harris beats him, surely she's cheated. They say that without evidence already. And so it really is shaping up to be a contentious, nasty battle down the home stretch here. And there are some reasons to have grave concerns about the aftermath following Election Day.
Laura, how important will this debate be on Tuesday night? The last debate was pivotal. Obviously, it ended President Biden's campaign.
It absolutely was. That was the nail in the coffin. And I think traditionally we've had to answer, do debates matter? Do people really pay attention and care? They clearly do. That was the end of his second administration and totally changed his legacy. I think this is the first time we see Harris and Trump on the debate stage together. The recent polls on Friday showed 3.2%. That's within margin of error of Harris leading. I think this is going to be really important for the American public.
What about this thing with the microphones, Mike? The candidate's mic will be muted when the other candidate's speaking. There was a kind of a back and forth over how the campaigns wanted to handle that. What impact do you think that'll have?
Very little. I mean, they're both going to make mistakes, whether they're speaking live or mumbling to themselves. They're both going to make mistakes, going to be picked up. The real thing we have to look at here is how do they play to the opposite sex. I think this election is becoming a gender war. If you look at polling, Harris is up to 18 points with women in most of the battleground states, while Trump is up as much as 18 points with men. They have to appeal to the other gender, or they're very, very sure to lose.
Robin, I want to ask you briefly your thoughts on the debate, and should we try this technique with the microphones here too on this show? You guys all get along pretty well. I don't think we need to.
Only when Tony's here.
For the whole show. No, but anyways, I think it's going to be like Adam said. This is, for those of us that like this, I mean, we weren't around for Kennedy Nixon. This is Kennedy Nixon equivalent.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are going to tune in for that.
All right. We'll watch it together Tuesday night, no doubt. Coming up next, Governor Holcomb ends his trip to Europe with a surprise visit to Ukraine. We'll take you there next.